Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd Pianin, with over $2 billion in funded loans.
Happy Sunday to you. We have a big show, and I'm in studio with Todd Pianin of Home Street Bank.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody. We are going to kick off the show with some big buyer advantage that you're going to want to take advantage of, and we're going to highlight that in the next segment. We're going to jump in to completely just debunking anybody and everybody that only and solely focuses on price per square foot when valuing your home. People, if all you believe is needed to sell a home is to buy an $8 calculator, punch in the average price per square foot in your neighborhood, and calculate that against the size of your house, there's a big surprise coming for you. There's more to it. Yes, I understand that the majority of agents, that's all they focus on, but that's why you're listening to Real Estate Exposed. That's why you're going to get information that is not typically available to you via the common agent in this marketplace. Remember, a real estate agent only has roughly 135 hours of education to get licensed. That is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. A beautician has something like 3,000 hours to get licensed.
What happens, Dan, if they make a mistake? The beautician makes a mistake.
And by the way, before I answer that question, let's make something clear. I have people in my own family that are in that profession.
This is true. You do.
It's a valued, high-quality service that we need, and it is honorable work. But the fact of the matter is that if your beautician has a bad day at the office, you might just have a bad hairdo. You know, your nails might not look as well as they're supposed to. You might be a little bit embarrassed at the next party, but you're not going to lose your retirement.
Right.
You're not going to go into you're not going to be financially devastated because of them having a bad day at the office as opposed to your real estate agent. So where does real estate education takes place? It takes place in the field with people that are doing upwards of 100 transactions a year rather than the average of 3 or 4. So be careful where you get your information. We're going to tell you what to consider when pricing your home beyond simply price per square foot. There are a number of other metrics that you need to take into consideration.
I can't wait for that one. That's actually pretty cool.
And then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into intelligent fix-ups. And I'm going to tell you a story just happened this past week and how we saved a potential home seller from spending a big chunk of money, upwards of $8,000 to $12,000 on the wrong part of their house, and how we redirected those funds partly into their pocket, partially into smarter places in the home that are going to give them a multiple return.
I can't wait to hear about that. So you're saying people are giving them wrong information or information that they just thought would be a better deal for them if they did something.
Exactly. And, much in that vein, Todd, because we just came out of our workshops a couple weeks ago, and one of the biggest hits was, everybody wanted to know where should I put money in my house? What should I upgrade? What shouldn't I? And so there was kind of two boats. There are two camps, right? There was people that were going to sell their home or people considering refinancing.
Right.
Because of that, Todd and I have a special offer for you. And this is going to be a giveaway we've never done before. We're going to go ahead and share a personal number with you.
It's our personal cell phone number, actually.
We're going to go ahead and share this number. It's 858-900-3368. If you text your name and email to it, you're going to be entered into a drawing. There will be 3 winners to the drawing, and the 3 winners will have their choice of selecting either a personalized visit from myself, Dan Beer of Windermere Homes and Estates. I'm of the top producing team across every office in the county. I will visit your home and actually give you a personalized look at what you should be fixing up. Just like I did for the people on the story I'm going to tell you about that I visited this past week. Or if you're keeping your house, Todd will actually pay for your appraisal on a refinance. So if you're keeping your house and refinancing, Todd will pay for your appraisal, or you could choose to have me over and give you a personalized audit of the most intelligent home fix-ups you should make in order to get a multiple return on your dollar if preparing your home for sale.
I think either one's a winner. I like them both.
So that phone number, if you want to text your name and email, it's 858-900-3368. 858-900-3368. That is 858-900-3368. All right. Jumping into what's going on in the market today, Todd.
Let's talk about what's happening in the San Diego housing market today, Dan. I mean, all kinds of news has been coming out all over the UT and in the marketplace that we've got. So, I mean, tell us what's the market looking like? Is marketing times getting longer on the market? We have more inventory. What are some nuggets that you can throw out to our listeners right now?
Well, we're going to give you a look, let's call it a mid-year report.
Okay.
All right. And candidly, we pulled this from the UT, but it was great information. We're going to share it with you. And here's a look at where San Diego County stands.
Mid-year.
Mid-year. Okay. And now, granted, we're we're pushing almost into September here, but we're at the tail end of August. But we now have all the data in place. So here's some interesting numbers.
This is just January through June, so it's not counting the summer months.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So here's some interesting numbers for you. 3,443 was the average number of home sales per month, up 8.7% over 2014 numbers.
That's a good number.
That's a great number. I mean, it's just this demand, but frankly, it could have been far higher if there'd been more high quality supply on the market.
Well, that's what we talked about the seller seminar, right? Is that there's not enough inventory on the market to keep up with the demand.
There isn't enough inventory in the market. Now, some of you might actually notice homes in your neighborhood that have been for sale for a while. There's a reason. There's inventory that the market chooses to just ignore and discount, either based on condition, quality, positioning, price, or a combination of.
Right.
But quality, if we had more quality supply, that number would have even been higher.
And if those people would have gone to the seller seminar, they probably wouldn't be on the market right now.
Now, having even said that, that was still the highest number of transactions in a month since June 2006.
That's pretty good.
Okay. So here's another one for you. 6,335 is the average number of active listings per month from January to June. That's a 2.9% drop from last year, a year where we already had low inventory last year. We have more, even lower this year, and that just continues to, highlight this 2-month inventory environment that we're in, where most analysts would consider 6 months supply to be healthy.
What do you consider, Dan?
I would agree with that. I mean, if you're pushing on, if you're pushing on 6 months, you're actually kind of like at a tipping point. Revising what I just said when I immediately said I'd agree with that. I really think you kind of want to be at like the 4 and 5 month level. That's a really truly balanced market.
Right.
But
why?
Well, because you have just about you have a balanced amount of quality supply to the amount of buyers on the market. Buyers are able to have some choice.
Right.
But it's not so much choice that they can abuse the seller.
Right.
The seller, it's everything is just happening at a good rate, but it's not frantic. The buyer has a moment to breathe and actually maybe take a look at a couple of interest rates or talk to a lender too and see what's really the best that they can do for themselves without having to lose it to, 17 offers behind them. So that's a good level. Here's another one for you. This one's really interesting. 24.3% of the transactions in San Diego County were by cash buyers.
Why would you buy cash? Why would you put cash into your home right now when interest rates are so cheap? Explain that to me. I mean, Dan, you've sold a lot of homes for cash recently. I know that. I mean, what are those clients saying? I mean, when you get interest rates in the 3 and 4% range, I mean, why would you be using your cash that way?
When you have interest rates in the 3 and 4% range, and you're also going to get the mortgage deduction,
correct,
the tax deduction. It's I guess you're saying that you don't believe you could invest money at a greater rate than, call it, 2%.
Crazy,
right? I mean, that's essentially what you're saying once you take into account the mortgage deduction,
right?
And so, people are catching on to that, though, because last year, cash buyers actually accounted to 28.6% of transactions.
So we're coming down. So people are catching up.
It's slid back a little bit to 24.3%, but that's a lot of cash. I mean, basically 1 in 4 transactions in this marketplace, someone's putting down, someone's stroking a check, and that's it.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there, though, also on how hard it is to get a mortgage right now. I mean, it's not that. I mean, you're seeing it, Dan, when we're doing transactions. I mean, it's getting easier.
Absolutely.
We're not doing the liar loans and all that kind of fun stuff, but I mean, we're not asking for the world as we used to do.
And here is something though that's a little bit misleading, because in that statistic, because some people will buy cash and then immediately refinance into, you still get purchase. You still get purchase money.
The 90-day, the 90-day rule.
So they'll immediately refinance and pull their cash out, but they just wanted to buy that way just for the sake of reducing their own stress, but they turn around.
Or beat up the seller a little bit on the price to try to say I'm all cash.
At least in their mind, that's what they're doing, and then they'll turn around and refinance. A lot of people are doing that now. That's why Todd is actually giving away a free appraisal on your refinance. At Home Street Bank, these guys, I mean, ever since you guys went over there, what a game changer it's been for our clients. Like, the programs you have, the rates you have, it's been world class, and I'm really happy to tell you that if you text your name and email to 858-900-3368, Todd will actually pay for your appraisal on your refinance, no strings attached. Moving on to the next one here. Here are two statistics you have to listen to, and they work together. Okay? What is the amount that it costs you of your income? So what percentage of your income does it cost a San Diego County homeowner toward their mortgage? This year, so far, in the first half of the year, 34.1% of your monthly income went toward San Diego County homeowners' mortgage. That's what you could expect to put toward your mortgage on average.
Right.
Okay? Now, if we compare that to what's been reported as what you could expect to put toward rent, that's going to be 43.7% of your income.
That's crazy.
Toward rent.
You're not getting the tax deduction on that either.
And Todd, with rates, I mean, where rates, it's crazy.
We
it is a lot more expensive to buy than rent, and it's clear, printed right here, reputable source, the UT San Diego.
Yep.
43.7% of your monthly income is going toward your rent on average, while only 34.1% toward a mortgage. Another way of looking at that is that renting is literally about 30% more expensive. Where are rates at today? Why would someone do that?
I don't understand. You got rates in the 3 and the 4% range right now. I mean, to me, it makes 0 sense. You could put as little down as 3.5% on a lot of transactions.
Well, isn't that what it comes down to? Is the public just not there's still too many people out there. Like, if you think that it's going to take 20% to get a loan, to get a mortgage,
right,
you really need to talk to somebody like Todd Buchanan, because it does not take that amount. You can get in far less expensively. Todd, I want you to tell give us 2 low down payment options right now.
Right now?
Right now.
You get the FHA 3.5% down.
Okay.
You can go all the way up to a $546,250 loan amount, which is unbelievable.
And my favorite.
And VA. For our veterans out there, we can go 0 down, up to the same high conforming limits as well, and you can even put down 10% down on $1 million mortgage.
And what about the listener that's thinking to themselves, well, I'm not VA because I wasn't in the military and I don't want to do FHA. What about conventional low down payment?
You got 3% and 5% down conventional.
Text us your name and number. You get a free appraisal on your refinance. We'll give you, or you can get a free audit from myself as far as the most intelligent money-making fix-ups you can do when preparing your home for sale. That number is 858-900-3368. Just text your name and email. This is Real Estate Exposed. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about a major buyer advantage in the marketplace. Ready for the taking. So, one of my personal pet peeves in anything in life is when people do what people do. Because people do it. Because they've heard it, they've been told, they read it in People magazine, whatever it might be. And I just use People magazine teasing my wife because anytime she just does something that's just stereotypically female, I just say, I ask her if she saw it in People magazine.
Oh, boy.
But anyhow.
That wouldn't go well at my house.
But here's where we're going with this. When we're looking at our mortgage.
Yes.
Okay. The automatic thought process of most borrowers is, what is that 30-year fixed rate mortgage look like?
Right.
30-year fixed, 30-year fixed, 30-year fixed. Few of us ever sit back and say to ourselves, why 30-year fixed? Where did that even come from? How did that come about? Why is that the best path? Does it make sense for me? Is there a better way? And by the way, I'm not suggesting that won't be the best loan for you. It might be.
Right.
But we need to ask ourselves these questions. Todd, what alternatives need to be considered?
Well, one thing I think we should talk about, Dan, is did you know most people stay in their home or their loan statistically for 3 to 5 years?
I do know that.
So most people, when they look at a 30-year, so the thing is, we talk about, I don't hate to say sheep, but when everybody else is talking 30-year fixed and thinking that they're going to just do what everybody else is doing, one of the things to think about is, how long am I going to be in this house for, and how am I overpaying monthly for the house?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we've come up with is, we do short-term fixed rate loans, which means that you're fixed for a set period of time. It could be 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and those interest rates are traditionally anywhere from a quarter to 3/4 lower than the 30-year fixed rate. And I was, for example, I was talking with a couple the other day, and it was a multi-million-dollar deal, and they've owned property, and they go, Todd, they go, why has we've talked to 6 other mortgage people, and nobody else has talked to us about the short-term fixed rate loans. Do you know that I haven't been in my home? And he's 74 years old, by the way. He said, I haven't been in a home. He goes, we've changed homes every 7 years for the last 20 years, 30 years. He goes, so why would I overpay on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage when you can get me something in the low 3s for a 10-year? And who knows if I may not even be alive when the 10-year comes up. I mean, that's what his comment was. But he's like, he's a true believer. And what it also means for everybody else out there who's in the median price range, it also increases their purchasing power, because they can purchase up. You realize someone can buy almost an extra $100,000 in property value by dropping their interest rate by almost 1%. So people who are out there kind of frustrated or thinking they can't get their property because they're in a certain price range because they're being qualified on a 30-year fixed, we can qualify you for more money by putting you in a 7-year fixed or a 10-year fixed, which then gets you into that next level. It steps you up, and you can now compete.
With a similar payment.
With a similar payment, correct, because you're paying a lower interest rate.
It's all about understanding who you are and what your options are, right? So I myself have a
10-year.
A 10-year, correct.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember if it was 7 or 10 years. I myself have a 10-year.
Right.
And the reason I have it is because I know who I am. And what I mean by that is I know I am somebody that in my current home, I'll probably be there maybe 5 to 7 years.
Right.
I understand what's happening, to my family structure, what's happening to my business, where I expect my comfort level to be in the future. I understand what my history looks like. Have I ever been in a place for even 4 years? Not yet. Not yet.
How long were you in your condo for?
The townhome we had, it was, we were there for about 3.5 to 4 years. So 4 years is the longest that I've ever been in a place. So it's about understanding who I am and knowing that 10 years, locking in my rate for 10 years, the likelihood of me being in my home for 10 years, well, it's not high. So I'm taking advantage of cheaper money.
Correct.
I'm not overpaying.
Cheaper money meaning a lower mortgage payment, because you could have afforded a 30-year fix.
But why would I want to?
Exactly.
I'm going to take that difference and stick it. Here's what a lot of people don't realize about their mortgage payment, Todd. Tell me if you disagree.
Okay.
Your mortgage is a forced savings account.
Yes.
Okay. So whatever that difference is between my 10-year money and what would have been my 30-year,
right,
I can take that and simply put it in a bank account monthly.
Correct.
Now, granted, that takes discipline, but if you believe you have discipline, it's now in a liquid account, by the way,
right,
versus a forced illiquid savings account.
Correct.
So you need to connect with Todd on this money.
I always say, I'm always the one who says you can't get cash out of your kitchen, right? You can't go to your refrigerator and pull a $100 bill out of there. So I like the cheaper money, and I also know that based on history, 7 to 10 years is a long time, and it's a good safety factor.
And if you're stuck into the wrong rate or the wrong term, you can also refinance out of it, and Todd's actually going to pay for your appraisal. Enter the drawing. He's doing this for 3 of you. He's going to pay for your appraisal. That number is 858-900-3368. Text your name and email to it. Text your name and email to 858-900-3368. Because coming up next, we're going to be completely turning the typical pricing strategy upside down. You won't want to miss it. Goodbye price per square foot. You're a thing of the past. You're selling your home, and you do what everybody else does. You immediately think, what is the average price per square foot in my neighborhood? What is the size of my home? And voila, there's what I should be selling at. Todd and I are going to show you a better way right now. Much like we just discussed coming out of the break, how everybody's just automatically thinking 30-year fix for their loan, 30-year fix, 30-year fix, because that's what we're taught to think. While we're selling our home, we're just simply taught to think price per square foot, price per square foot, price per square foot.
Before you go into it, Dan, why do we think about price per square foot? I mean, what is that? I mean, why is everybody all about that? That's the thing I don't really understand.
It's because it's generations of agents all doing what generations before them and the generation before them did. And it's simplistic thinking. There's not a lot of education that goes into actually becoming an agent. So, and most agents sell 3-4 homes a year in San Diego County. That's a fact. So what happens is you have a lot of people regurgitating price per square foot, and that's all they're thinking. While there is important, by the way, it is important, but it is not the entire world. There are more considerations. This is Dan Beer. I'm Dan Beer with Windermere Real Estate. I'm with Todd Pianin of Home Street Bank. This is Real Estate Exposed you're listening to, and we're going to show you what you really go through a number of things that you really need to take into consideration when putting a price strategy on the sale of your home, so that you can have a smarter approach that goes well beyond just a simple calculation.
So Dan, let's talk about that. So if I'm in the marketplace right now and I'm interviewing realtors and everyone's talking to me about, okay, well, your house is this, it's worth this because of price per square foot. I mean, what should be some of the comebacks or some of the questions I should have for them, and then how do you price versus the average realtor in San Diego County that we know that sells 3 to 4 homes a year, when you and your team will sell close to 120 to 140 homes this year?
Well, I think the first question I would ask somebody that walked into my living room and just said, well, the average price per square foot in your neighborhood is this, this, and this, so let's calculate your size. Boom, there's your price. First thing I'd ask them is, why did I invite you over then? Because I could have gotten that information online. I knew the size of my home already,
right,
and I own an $8 calculator.
Right.
So why do I have you in my home if that's all there's to it? Now, I'm serious here.
Right, I know you are.
I would say it a little differently. I might be slightly more polite, but that's exactly the spirit of what I would ask that person.
Right.
There are other considerations you need to take into account, okay? If it were that simple, every home on your street, every time your floor plan sold, it would sell for the exact same price.
Which it doesn't.
It doesn't, because there's other things to take into consideration. What's the inventory level look like in your neighborhood? What is the absorption rate doing? What is the what kind of price limits? Just actually looking at the actual price, the check that someone's willing to stroke to live in your neighborhood, regardless of all the upgrades you've done. What do those look like?
Right.
I mean, because there comes a point where every neighborhood has what we would call a price ceiling.
Right.
A natural price ceiling. And if you price beyond that natural price ceiling, I mean, at some point, if you're in a $500,000 neighborhood in Chula Vista and you've gold-plated your ceilings and you've torn everything out and replaced it with, the finest Italian marbles and imported every, whatsoever, and you've sunk $700,000, $800K into it, no matter what you've done to the home, it's still not $1 million home because you have a natural price ceiling to your neighborhood. So we need to take that into consideration.
I got to ask you a question on that, though. But when you had homes that had natural price ceilings, how have you handled it? I mean, because I believe as a seller, if I'm a seller, that my house, because I got gold-plated ceilings, because I got the marble from Italy, that someone should pay $100,000 more for my house than,
and they very well may and should, but they might not. It might not be the $1 million you put into it, because at the end of the day, you did invest $1 million into a $500,000 street, so you will have value out of it beyond the average price per square foot of your street. But we cannot, when we make those personal decisions to gold plate our ceilings, we have to know going into it, and hopefully if you have the relationship with an agent that guides you not only when buying or selling with you, but actually all along the way,
right,
and that's actually touching base with you as you make decisions to invest into your home, you should know that money was, part investment but part enjoyment.
Right, that's the point I was going to make. I mean, I may have overdone my house, right, by doing that, but I got enjoyment out of it, right? It's kind of that's the give and take. I mean, you take your kids to Disneyland and you think you're only going to spend $100, you end up spending $400, but you got enjoyment out of it. So I mean, it's
exactly. But there's more to a price strategy than price per square foot. That's the main thing I want to drive home.
Right.
You know, here's the one that's the most important. And if you're writing any of this down, this is the one I'd write down. What does your virtual shelf space look like? Where are you positioning yourself in the world of virtual shelf space? And here's what I mean by that. Every product is positioned on a shelf, okay? Now, if you think about going to the grocery store, it becomes very obvious what I'm talking about because there are products that are right at eye level.
Right.
And those tend to sell more because more people see them. And then there's sometimes really good products, really wonderful products, but they're down by your toes.
Right.
And they don't quite sell as much because they don't get as much visibility.
Well, they pay for that price, that space, don't they?
In the grocery store world, they do. The interesting thing here in the real estate world is that our shelf space, while not taking place on a physical shelf,
right,
it does take place online. And so we need to be positioned on as many, as advantageously possible on as many computer screens as we can. And so when you're choosing your virtual shelf space, you need to be, when you're actually, let me rephrasing that. When you're choosing your price strategy, you have to be aware of your virtual shelf space because if price per square foot, which I repeat does matter,
right.
Okay, we're being facetious when we're just telling you we're throwing it out the window, but we're trying to just make a point that cannot be your only consideration because just yesterday, I saw a home listed for $1,515,000. $1,500,015.
So
okay, so those $15,000 at the end of that price,
you just killed a whole bunch of people, right?
It's a $1.5 million marketplace. It's really actually, frankly, like $1.3 million to $1.5 million marketplace in that neighborhood.
Right.
And so because of those 15 imaginary dollars that you've decided you want to build into your price, you now don't even exist to every home shopper on a computer screen that's searching for homes up to $1.5 million, and that's a pretty considerable, very large price bracket that you're literally not even making yourself visible to.
So why would an agent do that, Dan?
Well, I don't think they understand the consequences of what they're doing. They don't understand the consequences of being priced at, if price per square foot, again, tells you that your home is worth $505.
Right.
$505 is not $5,000 away from $500. $505 is light years away from $500 because you now no longer show up on any search that someone's conducting online, and that's where buyers go,
right,
up to $500,000. And that is critical that you understand what you're doing when you make that decision. Now, there are multiple ways to price your home, and I'm not here to tell you, that there are multiple right answers, but when somebody prices a certain way and don't get the education that they deserve to have from their agent because they're not being guided as to understanding the significant, profound impact of being at 505 versus 500.
Right.
Todd, when's the last time you ever saw, or you, it's rather than you, Todd, you the listener, have you ever in your life searched for a home up to 505?
We know the answer to that.
You've never done it. No one has ever done it. No one will ever do it. So when choosing your virtual shelf space and placing a price strategy, even if you think your home is worth 500, 505, 507, 510, maybe somewhere in that range, you want to consider being priced at 500, driving the entire market strategically to your home, presenting it in a competitive, compelling manner, not just throwing it online and waiting for people to trickle in like everyone else does,
right,
but actually driving them through a process that's systematic and predictable, and then having them bid your home up to 505, 510.
Well, didn't you want to take a listing one time at $1?
Yeah, and we have this, and we talked about this at our workshops. We did want to list a home at $1. The seller had agreed. We ended up not actually doing it based on compliance issues with MLS, but I really believe that I was just wanting to make a point. Price really,
doesn't
if
matter.
Price is married to an effective sales funnel, to an effective process of understanding what we're doing from the moment that buyer gets online to the moment they arrive at your house, how they arrive, what they've been told along the way, how they've been willing to wait, how they're in your sales funnel and process. price doesn't matter any longer. Price is simply a component of the marketing. It's just a piece of the marketing. And if we invite the entire market to your home in a systematic, predictable fashion, your home will rise to the most the market will bear. Something agents say consistently, but few deliver.
You prove it. You prove it.
You can't say to somebody you're going to get them the most the market will bear if all you did was bring 6 or 7 people through the house.
Right.
Right? That's only a few people's opinion on price.
Agreed.
This is Real Estate Exposed. Dan Beer and Todd Pianin. We are offering you, and we're going to be talking about this in detail in the next segment, but leading into it, at the workshops, we learned that the most, just what people are really wrapped into, what you might be thinking is, I'm going to sell my home. Where should I be putting money? I'm offering you a free audit at your home. I'm going to give away, we're going to have a drawing. 3 of you are going to win. You have your choice of a prize that you either can get a free audit of your home with me in person, telling you exactly where I think you should invest money in your home as you get it ready for sale. And by the way, these are typically very low cost, high return. Or Todd will actually give you a free appraisal. He'll pay for your appraisal if you're refinancing your home and you're keeping it rather than selling. So the number to text your information into is 858-900-3368. Text your name and email. We'll know exactly what it's for. This is our personal number, 858-900-3368. And you'll either have a free appraisal or a free intelligent home fix-up audit. Coming up next, we're going to be jumping into a story we just encountered this past week on exactly how we saved a potential home seller from spending $8,000 to $12,000 on the wrong part of their home, reallocated part of it to their pocket and part of it to smarter, more intelligent allocation. This is Real Estate Exposed. I'm Dan Beer, Todd Pianin. We're going to be right back.
Welcome back on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm happy to be here with my partner, Dan Beer from Dan Beer Group, one of the #1 agents in all of San Diego County, and definitely #1 for his real estate firm. One of the things I can't wait to hear you tell me about, Dan, is this story about how you actually, somebody was going to put more money into their home, and you actually backed them off of what they were going to spend. And give us this little story. I'm excited.
Yeah, so
most time realtors want you to spend because you're going to get the highest number possible for your house. And now you're telling me that you actually told them not to spend and to spend less.
I met with a wonderful couple, and their 2 boys. They were adorable, and I met with them just this past Wednesday. Nice home in La Mesa, and they were talking about, it's a 3-bedroom home with 1.5 baths, and we're talking about doing an add-on to the half bath, turning it into a full bath.
Right.
First, it sounded like a good idea to me, but then really looking at the floor plan, you still weren't going to create a true master because you were going to have 2 bathrooms outside of all the bedrooms. So, and that was going to run them, per a quote they'd received, about $8,000 to $12,000.
That's a lot of money.
Okay, so $8,000 to $12,000. I felt, it'd be nice to have a shower in that second bath, and you might get part of that money back. You might even get most of it back. It probably will accelerate your time on market. It's definitely a nice addition. But are you going to see a multiple return? I mean, is that $8,000 to $12,000 going to turn into $30,000 for you? And absolutely, the answer was no.
Right.
I mean, that's not going to move the needle that much. And typically, I don't want my client to do anything that isn't going to move the needle. And so then we started looking at the kitchen. They had already actually purchased some tile and a new backsplash, and they're kind of do-it-yourself people, so they're going to paint the house. And I said, well, it turns out that painting the home to a more modern color,
right,
and lighter and brighter color too, a nice, beigey gray, adding a really just awesome backsplash, adding tile to what's currently linoleum floor in the kitchen, and then improving the countertops. Doing all of that work was going to run them about $5,000.
So it's like a $7,000 savings.
Yes. Now, I think absolutely you could turn that $5,000 investment into $10,000 or $15,000 because you now have, they already have stainless steel appliances. They would now have a revamped modern kitchen versus having another shower in a bathroom that's still not creating a true master.
Right.
This is these people's particular story.
Did they hear that from another realtor though? Did they talk to somebody else?
I can't say they did. I don't know the answer to that. I can't say they did. I'm not sure. But in any case, the other place, by the way, they're going to invest into is into the staging. And now you're talking about, staging, and with staging and everything we just talked about, they're going to be 5,000 to 6,000 in instead of 8,000 to 12,000. And now they will be getting back multiple return on that investment. I mean, they're literally moving their kitchen forward a few decades.
Nice.
Okay.
Right.
And then they're turning their house, and the staging is going to turn the presentation from, hey, I can kind of see myself here, to holy smokes, this place is incredible.
Right.
And when we're talking about multi-$100,000 assets that we're selling, typically here in San Diego County,
right,
it is critical that you understand that reaction from a buyer saying, hey, this could work, or a buyer saying, wow, this is incredible, and particularly if they've run through our sales process where they're competing with other buyers instead of competing with you, that easily can swing price 15, 20,000, 25,000 this way versus that way. And so that's why Todd and we are asking you to text in, and we just felt like doing a giveaway. The giveaway is, I will either give you a free audit of what you should be doing to improve the value of your home if you're preparing it for sale, just like I did for this couple in La Mesa. Or Todd, if you're refinancing, he'll literally pay for your appraisal. Text your name and email, and you'll be entered into the drawing. We're doing it for 3 of you. 858-900-3368.
That's a lot. I mean, you're giving up a lot of your time and going to help a lot of people out here. So I think it's worth repeating that number one more time, Dan.
Hey, man, and you're paying for a darn appraisal. So 858-900-3368. That's 858-900-3368. This has been Real Estate Exposed with Dan Beer at Windermere Homes and Estates, Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank.
Have a wonderful Sunday. We look forward to being with you guys next week.